Welcome to the second portion of the Focus Basics instructional videos, and in this video we will show you how to set up, save and run the Focus Flowsheet. So the first thing we need to do is go to our Focus homepage, which you can do by clicking this session button here and type in our session name. In this case we're going to name our session basic_example and we're going to save the file. So whenever the user saves the file, we have this input box being opened, which allows the user to make a log regarding the changes that were made, but this step is completely optional, so you can leave it blank if you'd like, and in order to proceed with the save, you click continue. So in this case, we are going to save our file in our desktop, and we're going to name the file, again, basic example, so which is fine. So we're going to save it in our desktop. So now we have our file saved. So next step we're going to take is to go to our flow sheet and we're going to create a node which represents the simulation that we are interested in simulating in Focus. So the add node button is this one right here, the second one on your left, and you click anywhere on the node, and let's say we want to name the node something, and let's say we change our mind and decide to name it something else. Unfortunately, in this case, the only way to do that is to delete our node. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this button right here, which allows us to select anything on the flow sheet. So we're going to select our node and hit the delete button. So we're going to start over again and create a new node. So we're going to add a node and we're going to name it example. And there's our node. And whenever you would like to proceed with the next step, it is important that you click this select button right here. Otherwise, if you click anywhere in the node, then this message box will appear asking the user to select a new node name. So we can cancel anytime by clicking the cancel button or hitting the escape button on your keyboard. And in this case, we're going to click the select button. We're going to select our node. And it's a bit off-centered, so in order to make the visual look nicer, the user has the option of selecting this button right here to center the flow sheet, so it's now more centered, so it's more evenly spaced up and down. And the next thing we're going to do is open our node editor, which is the third button from the bottom here. And so we have our node editor tab open on the right hand side. So we're going to go to our input variables and add two new input variables by clicking this green plus button, and we're going to name it x1, and the second variable we're going to name it x2. And I also like to note that if the user would like to delete any of these variables, all you have to do is select the variable and click the minus button. But in this case we do want the variable x2, so we're going to insert it again. So we have x1 and x2, and we're going to set the default for x1 as 3 and the default for x2 as 4, and we're going to set the minimum and maximum from -10 to 10 for both variables. And now we're going to go to our list of output variables and insert two output variables, namely y1 and y2. And we're going to put our equations relating the variables x1 and x2 to variables y1 and y2. And to do that, we go to our node script and we click anywhere on this input box. And because Focus was written using the Python language, so whenever you type in this node script box here, we need to use the Python language. So we're going to type in our output variables and relate them to our input variables. And there are two ways to do it. So one way is to go to Variable Explorer here and click on the arrow with the node name example, and if we click on the arrows next to inputs and outputs, all the inputs and outputs will be listed. So if we select f of y1, for example, we could then just select this, copy it, and then hit the escape button to close this dialog box and go to our node script, and you can paste it. So the Control-C and Control-V button does work in Focus for copying and pasting variables, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to paste it, and we're going to set f of y1 or y1 equal to 2 times x1. So again, we go to our variable explorer, click on example, and we go to our list of inputs, type in x1, and copy this using Control-C, or you can also copy it by doing this. Close our box and paste it. Likewise, you can also paste it by right-clicking and going to paste. And notice that for every output variable, you start with F and you enclose it in a square bracket with quotation marks. And I'm going to add 3 times x2. So because we're filling both, we're going to go right ahead and just type in x2 without looking at variable explorer. And I'd also like to add that the quotation marks, you can use double quote or single quote. It's fine either way. So if you type in f of y2 like this, the Python code should still work. So we're going to do the same thing. So 3 times x1 plus 5 times x2. So we're going to save our file. So we can hit Control S, or the other way to save the file is to go to session. If you click on this arrow right here and select Save Session, or you can hit Control S as I mentioned. So I'm going to just hit Control S and continue with the save. Alright, so we're gonna go to our list of variables again and go to our input variables, and as you can see, the values of x1 and x2 are set to 0. We can change it automatically to default by clicking on this blue default arrow, which will cause the values here to be equal to the default. So we're going to click yes, and there you go. x1 equals 3, just like the default, and x2 equals 4, just like the default. But we're going to change it up a little bit, so we're going to set x1 equal to 2 and x2 equals to 5. And once again, we're going to save our flow sheet by hitting Control S and clicking on Continue. And now we're going to run our flow sheet. So we're gonna click on output variables. This step is optional, but because we're interested in our output variables, so I'm just gonna go ahead and click the output variables. And because the flow sheet has not been run yet, y1 and y2 still equals to 0. But in this case, we know that the correct answers are anything but 0. So we're going to run our flow sheet by clicking this green button right here. And I also like to mention that whenever the flow sheet runs, the user can stop it at any time by clicking on this stop button right here, which is the octagon. And usually when the flow sheet is run, the octagon turns red, indicating that you can stop, the button is available. And this flow sheet is run very quickly because our Python code is written directly in FOQUS, and these simulations tend to happen very quickly. So we can close this button by clicking OK, and there you have it. y1 is equal to 19 and y2 is equal to 31, which is our outputs. And as FOQUS mentioned, the run is completely successful. So we have our outputs. y1 is equal to 19 and y2 is equal to 31. And if we'd like to save these outputs in an Excel file, we can do that. So one way to do it is to go to this results and filtering table, and as you can see, I'm going to expand this. We've got our run here, and x1 is equal to 2, x2 is equal to 5, and the outputs, to make things better, to make things look better, we're going to go to our menu, going to go click View, and then resize the columns. There, now everything is expanded, so that we can see names of the variables. So x1 is equal to 2, x2 is equal to 5, y1 is equal to 19.0, and y2 is equal to 31.0. And if we like to copy and paste this to Excel, all we gotta do is click on Menu, go to Export, and copy data to Clipboard. Then we go to our Excel spreadsheet and just paste it by hitting Control-V, and there you have it. All the outputs are shown in Excel. So we got x1 and x2, as well as y1 and y2. So this concludes the second portion regarding how to set up, save, and run our FOQUS Flowsheet. And thank you for watching.